Hello, hello, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. I'm going to check sound to make sure we're good to go before I start off and think that we've got sound, and it looks like we do. Excited as always to come to you for another week of Unleashed, where we are on episode 5, where we're exactly at 30 days from launch time. And man, let me just start off by saying this. I have absolutely enjoyed this whole entire community that is happening on the page. I love your likes, your shares, your comments. We're engaging in the wee hours, early in the morning, middle of the afternoon. I love with some of the comments that you're sharing or your thoughts. I am just really excited. And my goal is to touch every single one. My goal is to respond to every single one. And then I'm really excited as we were just looking at, the analytics, because again, my goal is to really just make sure that what my goal is, my plan is, that I'm achieving it. I was speaking to a gentleman just yesterday that I'll tell you about here in a second, and I just told him I truly care. This is coming from a place that has nothing to do with what it may mean to other people on social media. It means something a lot more serious, a lot more deep to me. And so to make sure that I am doing something, that what I am bringing is touching people really, truly matters. And so to see the analytics of all of these countries and how many people are in the Ukraine, that are in Belize, Jamaica, Dominica Republica, Alaska, like it's just crazy. And let me just say this from my heart. I am truly excited about that. You have no idea. I wish I could talk to every single one of you. I wish that I could even chat with every single one of you. I am that person who would stay up all night, wake up, and continue down the list just to make sure each one of you truly know what that means to me. And that when I really say that I'm here to do something, and when I said what I said last week to all of those ladies, and oh my goodness, what you guys did with that video, what you guys did with that podcast. Woo, me. I mean, that was just pretty crazy to see that. And all the texts that I got from not just the ladies, the men. Oh, man, I am so glad because I think you guys can tell that was coming from a very deep place. And I was just caught off guard, right before I came on with the message to give you guys sharing a story about two people. And I'm going to sit here and tell you, we are here again. I always knew that Unleashed was really going to be the focus for the week. I knew that when I started, what I do on Tuesdays was never supposed to be a live anything. It was supposed to be pre recorded and me just bringing those things that I have in me when it comes to life and when it comes to building a life, when it comes to investments, when it comes to, building income for your family and a future and how to protect it. That's all it was supposed to be. The whole goal, the whole everything was going to be right here on Thursday nights. And so, with that, you guys, we've got another one of those topics that God, I wish my husband could be sitting here. He will tell you and my daughter that this is just something that as these messages are coming to me or titles are coming to me, it's coming like in layers. And then to have all these things happen around it or these stories happen around it to make it real, to make it authentic, to make it something to where I get choked up in my throat, which I'm already doing as I start this message, just because of what it means. And I know what it means to everybody. I don't care who you are. And then I know what it's meant to me in my life. And so, with that, man, good evening to everybody. I know we've got several people on here, Facebook, several people over here on YouTube. And so, I'm just going to get started, you guys. And I want to start off where our episode tonight, our focus tonight is called To Love Someone. And just the title alone, was something I struggled with because I kept struggling with to love someone or to love another. But as the days kind of got closer and the hours got closer, and boy, what happened today, this morning, and what happened yesterday, I just knew it couldn't just be about loving another person. It was to love someone. So I want to share two stories with you guys. And again, good evening. Please make sure you share this. I want through whatever possible to reach as many people that maybe need to hear this message, right now. Um, but I got on the phone with a gentleman who reached out to me to take advantage of one of the things that I offer on Tuesday. It's called the Power of One. And it's all about that one phone call that one advice, that one person listening, one person caring, one person you could share your heart with, that one moment that could change everything. And I've been on social media, I've been on radio and television since 2015, but I've never, ever, as I shared with several of you guys with the launch show, have come with my full self. I've been, for about 8 years, as those of you guys know, I had one job and one job only for those 8 years. And boy, I tried to do it the best that I could, even though I feel like I was thrown into it. But man, I'm grateful that the moment that I was kicked off into the deep end, man, just things started popping from the sky, floaties, a boat, all these things to get me to be able to make it. But the thing that a lot of people didn't realize, that what I've done for 32 years is I've been a master pillar coach working with people in all areas of life, man, of love and relationships, from single men and women to even couples during their toughest times, even those that are on their way to a divorce, coaching and mentoring them, to business and finance. Man, we have a huge youth division because that's our love and passion for the future. And then, of course, what I've done for the last 8 years. Well, this gentleman has been watching me, has been tuning in every single week since 2018. Now imagine all of the shows and all of the podcasts and all the radio shows that he's listened to. And every now and then when I would pop on YouTube, when something was streaming, I wasn't live, but it was streaming, he would pop on and he would almost always say something to me as if it was really me. And I would sit there at times chatting with him, not knowing where this gentleman was from, not knowing anything about him, but just knowing that every time, and oh, here comes those tears, every time he would hop on and he would hear a message from me, it was like the thing he needed right then in that moment just to get through the next minute. I didn't know what was going on in this man's life. I didn't know what he was battling at all, but I just knew that he would respond in a way as if his, I will say this, and please don't be offended, his prayers he had just prayed with tears on a floor were being answered. So all these years go by, and then now here I am. I'm not coming back, and I'm just going to say it here for those of you who are new. I'm not coming back to preach the word. I'm coming back to just be myself. That's my orders from my boss. And then lo and behold, I go give this offer to book this Power of One session. And this man decides to book this session. He immediately texts the number. He put the word boss. And then immediately we start connecting with him. And to hear him share his heart, even before the appointment was booked, to make sure that we were getting his message and that somebody was really connecting with him. And then when he was told that he was going to be getting on a call with me, his response was just something that when I got it, it just blew my mind. To get on the phone with this gentleman at the moment of when a hurricane is about to hit his spot, you could literally hear the wind because he was in Florida. And he's standing outside somewhere. Wind is crazy. I'm having to repeat myself. He's, kind of repeating himself because he could barely hear. And he's making sure, one, it's me. And as he's talking and he's telling me his story, he tells me a story that he just had a birthday and turned 30. And that he's been praying this whole entire time, looking for something to help him. Something to help him work on himself. Something to help him get beyond the challenges that he's had, even when it just comes to keeping a job or being able to have the life that he has truly been fighting for. And that when I made this offer, he said he kind of jumped out of his seat, and I'm sure he's watching right now. And he just thought, he was so cute. He says, did she just give her phone number? Like he just had a moment, hold up. Did she just give her phone number that we can text her? Like he just had a moment after all these years, and his words, and I want to get it right because this is so what to love someone is about. He says, I knew after praying all these years, after watching you every episode, that if I don't take this opportunity, because this may be my one shot to change my life, then I'm going to miss something. But I've been rock bottom all these years. And I know that it's going to be up to me. That I know that if I take this one shot I've got, that there's no way else I could go, TA, but up. And this moment to me with this gentleman who had just turned 30, standing outside, as you guys know, a hurricane was hitting Florida yesterday. He was in the city, it was going to hit the worst. That even though a hurricane was coming, he felt I needed to make this call. I needed to take advantage of this offer. I needed to reach for whatever I could, because what he was saying is, I'm now going to love myself. I'm now going to put me first. I'm now going to focus on me. And what's crazy is this whole entire time I've been preaching the word and bringing the word, and you would have thought that that would have just been enough, but it was only when I literally came out with what I've been all along, like a true superhero, Bruce Wayne by day, but a superhero by night, that I never knew that this gentleman. And then when I told him he was going to be on his first session with Quint, he goes, hold up, your husband quit? Like literally he's going to talk to me? And I said, yes. And then when I told him about Xavier, he goes, hold up, your CEO is going to talk to me? Like you would have thought that everything he'd been slaving for, working for, he said, I only work a job that I only get paid every 2 weeks. It's not much, and you could tell that just for him to be authentic, to expose himself and his trueness as a grown man, but there he is, literally telling me I've not been able to create a future for myself. But you just said, TA, on your show on Tuesday, on Solid Ground, that if all I had was $50 or $100, that instead of putting it in things, put it in me. So here I am, TA, and man, I'm going to tell you what that moment did for me. As Quint was listening in, because he was on speakerphone, and when I got done and Quint only heard part of the story, and I went to go and share it with him and then with Xavier, I could barely contain myself, because this man was choosing to love himself. He was choosing him first. I cannot tell you what that did for me, a grown man. Then this morning, and all the people that I coach and I mentor, we have a thing that if you are in a situation where you need me right there, I don't care what's going on, and I coach people all over the US, but if I'm assigned to them as a coach and you need me, I need you to text me 911. I've had that even with my girlfriends, my sisters. 911 means stop, drop, and roll. 911 came this morning. And I know my eyelashes are not going to last to this podcast, because I could already feel it. She's been taking care of her dad. She's the one that out of all of her family and siblings that was chosen to be the one that her dad was going to move from his hometown to a assisted living near her and her husband. And she's been taking care of him, and he'd been in and out of the hospital, ICU, back at the assisted living, and things were getting tougher each week, where he was struggling to eat. He was having pain all in his body. He then, started to develop, issues with breathing. But he gave her one word and one word only: no matter what, you fight to keep me alive. Do not let them take my life, is what he told her. And the burden that I knew that was on her, the thing that I knew that now was placed on her, because the whole family said, whatever you decide. His mama, who is still alive, called her and told her, whatever you decide. And she told her, but just do me a favor. Don't you try to save him. So here he was saying, don't you let them kill me. But here his mama was saying, don't do anything. Let him go, baby. But whatever you decide. Something in my heart told me to get on a call with her. We had it set for one day, and everything in my whole being told me to not push it off longer, that her and I got on a coaching call. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, and I felt what I know I felt. that I knew. I told her, okay, sweetheart, I need to roll my sleeves up because we got to go deep. And I just started to talk to her about that moment. And just she started to get choked up because she knew what moment I was talking about. And we started to talk about the pain that he was in and the pain that she was watching him, how even when she was trying to help him, she would hurt him. And that burden of her having to make that decision, what she was going to do. And I just encouraged her and strengthened her. And I said to her, but you've been chosen, so you're trusted. And as she just talked about that moment and how it's hard for her to face that moment of what she knows she needed to face because she got the call that his organs were shutting down. And I knew right there that I needed to, and I'm going to say it, not trying to offend you, pray with her and pray over her and pray hard and go deep. I think that was on a Tuesday. I told her, let's follow up on Friday. That was Tuesday. This is Thursday. The 911 text came through. My daddy has passed. And I knew right there that I needed to finish up real quick what I was doing because I knew that the call I was about to make was one that I needed to be front and center. I needed to be a superhero for a superhero. And I needed to be there to be able to hold her up, to strengthen her up, or even put her in my arms if I had to. When she answered the phone, as we all do, she was strong. She was, as we all do, keeping it together. And I just sat there and I just said, okay. She goes, yeah, I've got to call the funeral home and, I've got to call them to come get him. And, she was just going down her checklist and being strong. And I just knew in that moment that I needed to say what I needed to say to her. And I said, let me tell you something. I'm going to call you back. And I'm going to check on you at 3:00 because let me tell you, at some moment today, it is going to hit you and I want to be there. I said, because right now you got a checklist that you need to do. But at some moment, you're going to need to tend to you. And when I said tend to you, this woman yelled out a scream, a cry that I've only heard twice in my life, actually 3 times. I heard it from my sister Rondell just a couple months back ago, me and Quint. I heard it from my brother when he was at my event that I had in San Antonio, which is a cry that, whoo, what it does to you. And then I heard it from myself when I was sitting in a moment where I was being taken off air and my brother was on the phone. My brother Xavier was on the phone. Quint was to my right and it came out of me and I've never heard a cry scream like that. So I knew what that meant. I knew where that was. And I just told her to take her breath and get her breath. And I just sat there with her and just knew be quiet, but continuing to tell her to breathe. I checked on her at 3:00 and she was better. She was. And she said that in that moment when she screamed, it was because they had opened the door and she could see him laying there. But because she had been planning and we had had conversations and she'd been ready for this moment, that a lot of the things that she had to face, she had already prepared, which made it easier for her. And I sit here and tell you that what's crazy about this is the second week that the topic comes to me and it's broken up and it solidifies, but I'm struggling as to what to put on this iPad that's been with me for all these years. And then it is 24 hours before I come to you live that it truly births itself. That means that even things that I have here, it really comes at full fruition, leading all the way up to this. And so I'm going to again ask you guys to stay with me, to be what will help to gird me up, to strengthen me, so that I can honor the message that I have been told to bring, and that I hope I get an A on this. And I hope I still have my job from my employer after this. To love someone has been for me, and I know for you. To receive love has been, I know for me, and I know it is for you, probably one of the most powerful things that we have ever had or received. It is power, and it is powerful. It is the thing that when we believe that we are getting it can just show up like a light in a dark situation of us being in what feels like hell or being alone and forsaken, and it shows up and it just illuminates everything around us. It elevates us where we feel we're levitating off the floor. It immediately gives us an injection in the vein of hope and air and oxygen and blood. And it takes our whole surroundings and it puts it upside down if it was dark, or just makes it bigger than what it was if it was just dim. Love to me is the thing that cures all things, heals all things, solidifies all things, covers all things, births all things, repairs all things, redeems all things. It is love that does that. That here was my friend crying out because of the love she had for her daddy. And here was this grown man choosing to love himself bigger than he ever had, even though it meant sacrificial love of what he had to give. But he knew that if I'm going to love myself, then I've got to love myself. The value of life, to love someone, including yourself, is what this whole entire month has been about. From every message that I have brought on Tuesday to every podcast on Thursday to every post, it has been to understand that you are the most priceless thing on earth, that you have value, that you are worthy, and that you are somebody, no matter what has happened and no matter what is going on in your P.O. box or address, in your heart, in your mind, in your dreams, in your sleep, in your world. You are the most important thing. Now, I'm going to go ahead and speak to this because I believe that I need to speak to this. Just because I bring posts, just because I bring messages that I have to encourage and strengthen people to choose themselves, to love themselves, doesn't mean that I'm not about the word in regards to telling people to be about their neighbor. Let's get this straight. To be about our neighbor, to be about those around us, to be about a stranger, to be about the one we want to love, to be about even people we work with. To know love and give love, we must first know love. Because if we're not, then what are we giving? If we're not, then what do we have? We have empty. And that means that what we're giving people around us, people at work, people we're serving, and even a stranger on the streets, or people that we're trying to be in a relationship with, isn't love at all. It's broken. It's tainted. It's been altered. And I believe more than anything that love is the cure for everything we're going through in the world. But I believe that where we got to start is where it starts, is in us. And I know some of the messages that I've got because I've not been preaching the word, and that I'm not saying things that are about the word. But guess what? I am about that. But in order for us to truly make change, in order for us to be able to look at the world and love the world, it starts with love, and it starts in here. It starts with us loving ourselves and knowing true love. Because if not, then what do we have to give, and what are we really receiving? Love to me is the only answer. Love to me is the only way. It is love. Love not to forsake others and abuse them, or to be rude or crude or to forsake them. But it is love where you're choosing not to forsake yourself, where you're choosing to realize that you're somebody, when you're choosing to realize your life is something, where you're choosing to realize that you have worth and you have value. Because until we can fight that battle, until we can, as I feel like all of us who need healing and heal ourselves, then it is going to be truly hard for us to be able to have the relationships that we want and the ones that we're working hard for or working hard in. To even have the friendships that we want and the ones that we give to and even serve in. And even to be the ones to care about what is happening in our world today, including someone who's a different color of skin or who comes from a different background. It starts first from us. What are we pouring out? What do we have in here? And do we really know love? This is what it's all been about. To not stop loving people, to not stop being and serving people. You know, it says to honor people above yourself, but if you don't know how to honor yourself, then what do you know about honor? It says to love your neighbor as you love yourself, but if you don't know how to love yourself, then how are you loving your neighbor? This right here is what it means to love. But if we're going to go to the beginning, and again, I'm not going to preach, but if we go to the beginning of how it starts all, it is because of the value of who we are and the love that was shown on us, the love given to us first, because we are worthy of love. We are somebody. That love was given and love was sacrificed because of our value. So when we really go down to it, before everything else, the first thing is we, us, I, me, you. The first order of business was because of us being worthy of love. Because of the love that was, whether we knew it or not, given to us, shown to us. Where we, because of our value, were chosen. We, because who we were, actions and decisions were made. Because we have value. We, I, me, you. Love is, I believe, the most powerful thing. And I think that it is the most powerful gift that has been given. I believe, as I said before, that it could heal all things, restore all things. And love has the ability to affirm, anchor all things. You know, it says, and I'm going to read it because I'm here to do real work right now. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoice with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves, and love never fails. But if we do not know how to love that way because we have never received that love or that kind of love, we have never had that at all, then what are we giving and what are we receiving? Or how can we give that? How can, when someone tells us to be about this, that we truly know how to be about it? You know, to me, the analogy I came up with, it's like having the keys to a Lamborghini. And this is a beautiful car. It's priceless. And you go take someone who has been in a shelter their whole life, who knows nothing about cars, and you go bring them out of their sheltered life and they see this beautiful, bright thing. And oh man, when they sit in it, it smells good, it feels good. Man, you turn the radio on and God, that sound in the car is so good. And man, you feel that wheel, it feels good. And man, you look at yourself in it, you look good. And then someone goes to hand the keys to a person who knows nothing about cars, who doesn't even know how to drive a car, who doesn't even know that a car can be driven. How would they drive? What do you think would happen that even if you showed them how to put the key in the ignition and turn it on, how to put it in drive and hit the accelerator, what do you think would happen? What would happen if maybe the only thing he knows about cars, let's say that he had a TV, he had social media and television, which means the only thing he's ever seen is what's on TV through movies. Because, man, he's got a subscription to Netflix. He's got a subscription in Apple TV. He can watch all those movies. Or, man, what if he's watched The Fast and the Furious and we go and give him those keys? Then let's say that he drove and he crashed and he injured himself and he hurt himself, maybe even needing intensive care in a hospital, needing to be repaired, needing to be healed before he could ever walk again, maybe even drive again. But let's just say that he survived the crash, but he crashed. It was trauma that was done to him. But you go try and give him the keys to another Lamborghini. You go tell him it is okay. Just ignore what happened. Don't worry that you broke your leg. It's going to be all right. Let's get you into another Lamborghini vehicle. What do you think would happen? How do you think he would feel about driving? How do you think that he would drive? Would he drive better? Would he be able to drive? Never went to school to learn how to drive? Doesn't know what stop signs are or yield signs are or what green light go means? Doesn't know how you are supposed to drive on this side of the traffic and not this side, what lanes are? How would he drive? And then if he drove, what would he do with all the other cars that are on the road? How would he affect those cars? What would happen to them on the road? This is the same analogy that I feel when it comes to love. How can we truly know love the way love is intended if we've never experienced it or have been taught it? If we are giving it, being about our neighbor, what kind of love are we given? How would we know how to love ourselves even? Or if the love we're receiving is really true love or love at all? How would we know? What if you put that same person in the car right now and he drove it and he got into another accident, but before he got into the accident and the car you put him in was the one that was broken from the accident before? What would happen? We have all gone through a lot of things in our life. We have all been hurt by maybe even people that we've trusted that should have been tending to us, that we should have been able to depend on, that should have been protecting us and they didn't. Maybe the things that we saw even in our own home growing up as a child that affected us, and the things that we saw as the example of what love was painted an image in our heart and in our mind as to how love was to be or what love really was. Maybe we've been abused, whether that is verbally or physically or sexually, and someone told you they loved you, but that didn't feel good. That hurt, but that's what you were told love was. What if you're in a relationship and this person cusses you out and says things to you, or they call you names, or they beat you up, or slap you, or try to kill you, but they say, "But I love you"? What does that communicate to you about love? What if you were never spent time with because maybe your family were so busy at work and trying to put food on the table, something that could happen to anyone, but you never knew love? You never had anybody tend to you. What if you never had anybody pouring into you and telling you things of what you could be, that you could do, loving on you, or being there when you had issues and problems in your life, or things that you dealt with even at school, but no one was there to help you to know how to navigate through that? And the things that were said to you, or things that you were called. What if because you were different and you didn't fit in, and things that were said, name calling, that now you started to believe that you were, but that's what people did to you? How would you know love? What if you were put in a foster home because of what happened to your mom and dad, and but now you're in a home and you're wondering what happened to your mom and dad, or you found that now you're being adopted, and what happened to your mom and dad? Did they love you or not love you? I mean, we have gone through things in this life that we live, and through our upbringing and our childhood, or man, you were loving somebody, gave them all that you had, but literally you're going to get married and you find out that you're married and they have forsaken you and they cheated on you. And what does that say to you when you said, "I do"? I mean, all of these things that we've been through, or even just to lose love if we have it, the scars that then form. How do we give love? How do we know love? Where can we get love from? Who truly has the pure essence of love to know it? When we do not heal, when we do not tend to ourselves and love ourselves and take care of ourselves, then we are giving of our brokenness. We are giving of our taintedness. And then in most cases, we find ourselves in situations where now, because we are empty and we don't know love, that the only thing that we want, no matter what, is love. That we will even take from this or take from that, or date this person or sleep with that person or stay in this, just because to us, they have said they love us, or we think this is love. When none of that is ever going to give you true love. True love only starts in here. Loving yourself can only come from in here. Understanding your worth and value can only come in here. And as we move from situation to situation, from maybe dating to dating, maybe even from this job to that job, and relationships with coworkers, we could take our pain of being hurt by all of these things, or not knowing real love, and it can show up at a job, and how we communicate to people, how we react with people, how we react when situations. We can take things personally. We can now be bringing those things and manifesting them into these relationships, because if love is the most powerful thing of all, and we don't know that kind of love, and love is the root of what everything comes from, then how could we ever give to that? And then how could we ever receive back from it? To love someone and to be loved, to love yourself. There is nothing else but that. That is all that there is. That's where things get manifested from the root of our heart. Whatever is in our heart is what we speak. Whatever is in our heart is what comes out. The health state of our heart is what now manifests in our life and everything that we do. And it is the thing that communicates to our mind that we are or we are not, that we are a value that we are not. And when we don't heal ourselves, when we don't heal our heart, when we don't heal that pain, even losing someone, then we are operating off of a broken heart. We're operating off of a piece of a heart. This whole entire message this month has been about to love yourself, because when we can truly love ourselves and understand our value, do you realize that loving yourself and understanding your value is a direct vein of your identity? How you see yourself, what you see when you wake up in the mirror, what you say to yourself, what you believe you can do, what you aspire to, how you act and react with people, how you communicate, how you see people. What do you do when someone is in need? What do you do when there's a stranger on the side of the road? What do you do when someone is in trouble? You know, there was a video that came out and me and Quint watched it, and it just brought tears to both of our eyes. And I love videos like this where they stage a scene to see what people will do. The scene that was staged was a little girl. She was the actress. She couldn't have been no more than 9. The scene was her sitting on a bench and sitting somewhere where people come and sit, and then a stranger coming up to her to try to woo her to leave with him. Where he walks up and he uses words where your mom has sent me. Don't you know who I am? Your mom has said for me to come get you. Hey, let's go over here and get a hot dog, just to see what someone would do sitting next to that little girl. And what that video showed, and it's got like 5.6 million views. Oh, it just brought so much to my heart. It brought tears to my eyes. It touched Quint, as from a woman sitting there, from a younger woman to an older woman, to a man, to a downright brother, what he did. Oh man, how every single one of them sat there and after a while couldn't stay sitting, would stand up. I mean, this is what happens, what we could do, but where it starts is in us. And for a lot of us, because we've been starving for love, we're now looking for other people to tend to that starvation. That we even feel like it's other people's responsibility to give and to tend and to validate it, when it's right in here. This video just showed so much of what real love could look like if we could first start to love ourselves, that it would cause us to be about other people, that it was just this picture of how, I'll say it, we could change the world by us starting right here. I don't mean to quote a song, but it starts with that man or woman in the mirror. I believe in that saying. I believe that when we look at our life, if we're battling and struggling, I believe that we are the first place to start. I believe that that's the hardest place to start, because it means we got to face things and face truth. And that means that we got to go to work on things that maybe we've allowed to stay, or it's been too painful to face, or we've got to accept some responsibility that we don't want to, because we can only say so long what didn't happen in our life and blame those things in the past, where we have to get to a moment where we realize we have the power to move beyond that. We have the power to overcome that. We have within us the ability that even though that happened in the past and happened to you, what you do next, you can do anything. And sometimes it's hard to face that truth, because now we have to look at our life and to face that truth that really It's been what I've done or haven't done, or it's been what I've been communicating or not communicating. It's been what I've been teaching or not teaching, what I've been accepting or not accepting. It starts here with us. You know, I think about my moments in my life, and I think about the scars that happened in my life from the time that I was 5 until I became an adult. And how could a child know how to deal with those emotions, those thoughts of going to school and the names I was called, the ridicule, and knowing I didn't fit, but not knowing as a child how to change that, and that this is what friendship look like, that this is what friendships look like, this is what people are like, that it taught me when I didn't know how to deal with those emotions and those feelings. It taught me that in order for me to fit in, to be loved and accepted, I had to alter me. I had to mold myself to fit in. I had to change myself to be accepted. I had to change who I was to maybe have a friend. And I definitely would have to be somebody altogether different if I wanted to be loved. That it started a process because I didn't know how to deal with that pain. I didn't know how to deal with those thoughts. I didn't know how to deal with those emotions. And the only thing it communicated to me until I started working and getting healing and help was that I wasn't enough. I wasn't good enough. I was wrong. And everything about me offended people because, boy, they sure did spend a lot of time in taunting me, being horrible to me, calling me names, pulling my wig off. My Lord, I must be a menace to society. I must be something ugly and not beautiful. I must be nothing at all, and there's something. That I went through this whole entire period of my life, that I created a behavior without me knowing to be a pleaser of people. That I started to receive what I thought was love because I got attention, because I molded myself to please people. By me pleasing people, they liked me. By me pleasing people, they hung out with me. By me pleasing people, they did something with me, engaged with me, gave me a compliment. That all of a sudden I found that when I go change me and mold me and forget me and go be what they need, they want, what they say, I can then have somebody love me, is what it told me. That I created this whole entire behavior that kicked in no matter what. That every time I felt rejected, every time I felt forsaken, every time I got my feelings hurt, every time I didn't receive love, that my behavior kicked in. That, man, TA, if you just go do all of this, then you could be loved. Then you could be accepted. Then you could receive love. That I ended up in this cycle of not only with the friends that I made, and no matter what I did, it just seemed like the more I changed myself, the more that was required of me to change me. And the more the real me became at a distance vision, and definitely became the no go-to answer. That by the time I became an adult, I found myself in a 21-year-long mentally, physically, and sexually abusive relationship. All that was just about everything about me being wrong. But if I go do all these things, then it's right. Never knowing that I had value already. Never knowing that who I was already worthy. Never knowing that even with my handicap, it was the most beautiful thing because I was obviously perfectly made. Always looking to what the world said, looking to what he said, looking to what she said, looking to what's on television, looking to what's in a book, looking to what's on TV, looking to what's on the cover of the magazine, looking to what's in this movie, that movie, what that looks like. I want that too. What do I need to do to have it? Everything about the world, everything about people, every freaking relationship that I was in told me that who I wasn't good enough, wasn't strong enough, wasn't pretty enough, and always wanted to tell me to go do it differently, say it differently, act differently. That before I knew it, this man had me speaking differently, living in a different home, driving a different car, wearing different clothes. And every time I would even try to say something about myself, it was wrong. That I found myself living a life that had nothing to do with me. I had enslaved myself to a life that was supposed to be my life. Always worrying about what other people think. Always worried about what are people going to say. Always worried if I'm going to get along or fit or be accepted. That before I knew it, I was overly depressed, oppressed. I was crying all the time. I was heavy-hearted. And those who said that were there for me were not for me. That even when I finally got the moment, and it wasn't that I did it. I'm going to be honest. I didn't do it. I didn't walk away. I called for my employer. He wasn't my employer at the time, but I'm like, if you exist and you got job openings, I am putting in my application. You better hire me. You better allow me in your establishment to be one of your people, to be on your medical plan, your health plan, your financial plan, your wellness plan, your sane mind plan, because this life over here, this ain't a plan. If you are having openings and you will hire me and let me into your crew, because I needed it in that moment, that it was my employer who did it. I didn't do it. I wasn't strong enough to do it. But now we go into my adult years. I still didn't heal that. I still didn't keep tending to all that pain from my childhood, teenage years, to 21 years in that relationship. I was always focused forward. You'll be all right. Put your big girl panties on, girl. Be strong. Come on, you got this. Come on, girl, we ain't got time for this. We got things to do. Putting it away always. That it wasn't until I got married that now it was going to show up bigger than anything. Because when you do not heal your love, your heart, and you now are giving unhealed love, or the person that you're with, even the person you're married to, is giving unhealed love, then it means that you are giving love that is dark love, dying love, yearning and needing love, starving love, toxic love, dangerous love, dependent love. Because it scars and wounds that have never been tended to. And what happens to a scar and wounds if you do not tend to it? It becomes an infection. It can now danger your overall health, which could danger your whole entire life. It can spread. It could even spread to other organs, and it could lead to death. This now was what I had inside of me. And then going into my marriage, me and my husband found that we both had that inside of each other. That it wasn't until COVID hit. And during this whole entire time, and trust me, my husband knows I'm bringing this. We agree on me bringing this. That all the way 12 years of our marriage, it just, even though we loved each other, we would just have these moments of, and a lot of moments of where our love that we had for each other wasn't manifesting into a real organism in our marriage. I'm going to say that one more time. All this love that we have for each other, it isn't showing up in our marriage for some reason. It isn't doing what real love should do. And even though we knew, man, we definitely got that for each other, but why is it, no matter what, This love we think we've got for each other isn't doing what it says real love should do, or that we're not able to do what real love should do. That COVID, being locked up in a house with just you and your mate, is sure going to now cause you to have to face it. That's why I think COVID, even though it did what it did a lot of other things too. That it was in this moment with my husband, with my daughter, that we went through probably our biggest challenge as a family, because lo and behold, this chick is a triple dipple high risk to COVID. I have the worst autoimmune disease in my category of alopecia. I battled pneumonia and asthma and either other autoimmune compromising diseases through my skin. That 1 ounce of COVID would have taken me out. So we went through what was 3 years of what I'm going to say, we were taught what real love is. Not by us knowing it to give each other, but by us being forced to learn it. Because when COVID came in, it wasn't like, even though I knew what it would do to me, it wasn't like we all got on the same page as to how to protect our home from COVID, or how to make sure that COVID and protection was a priority. We were 3 different people. 3 different people. And it nearly tore our family apart. That even though I loved my husband loved me. And boy, let me tell you, I know my daughter loves me and I love my daughter. This is now where to love someone, to be about someone else's life, now gets for real tested. And the Lord, and I say the Lord, was very smart in that moment. Because the thing that he was going to do is that he was going to use me as the thing that was going to teach it. I need a second. During my isolation, the number one thing that I had to do was to learn how to love myself. Just going to close that. I had to learn how to love myself, fight for myself, protect myself, speak up for myself, and even be willing to lose it all in order to protect my life. I've always been a person to serve people. I've always been a person to lay myself down in order to tend to others. I've always been the type that people would call weak, to turn the other cheek always, and to still love. But what I was shocked was that the number one lesson that I was going to be taught in my 3 years of COVID, and even through my time of separation from everyone, was something that I never knew that I didn't still have. Is where I could love everybody well. I could love everybody immaculate. I could love everybody with my whole self, leaving nothing left for me. I could do that well. But the thing that I couldn't do is I couldn't love myself that way. Because of all the pain and all the tears and all the hurt and forsakenness that had piled up for all these years that I never got healing from. All the things that those things taught me, said to me, spoke to me, showed me of the vision of who I truly was, that lo and behold, even though I was successful and I still worked, and I was definitely that woman that really deep down inside in here, there was no love for me at all. And it didn't matter that I got my nails done. It didn't matter that I got a pedicure. It didn't matter that I got gray hair. None of that really mattered, because the true love that exists, that we need to have, or supposed to have, and supposed to know, can only come and form in here. Nobody else can give it to you. Nothing else can give it to you. It can only come in here. And through that isolation of everything being removed, was now the first time that I was going to have to choose me over everybody else. And it threw me, because I'm going to go here, because everything about me, through even the word, said something different. So it messed me up, that I thought, well, I'm supposed to lay my life down then. I'm going to lay my life down for Bree, lay my life down for Quint. But everything inside of me and here, though, something was telling me, you better not. Don't you know you're worth something? Don't you know you are something? Don't you know you have value? I don't think so. You better speak up. You better get crunk. You better get sister girl. You better get loud. You better slam your hand on the table. You better unleash. Because to me is what I heard. You're everything. I chose you. You're everything to me. And it just created something so different in me. I have never been this woman in my whole entire life. It created a person that could stand and not crawl. It created a woman who could speak up and not shut up. It created a fire in me that I know isn't mine, because something happens when you now understand your worth and value, and that you're worth above the whole world. And that you're loved above everybody, the whole world, that something happens in you, that it goes to the crevice of every part of your pain that you've ever felt in your life, that you've never tended to in your life, that you don't even know still exists. And it gets in there because it's so powerful, that love. It just goes places that you can't touch. Nobody can. And it just eradicates all of it. It's like the super duper B12 penicillin shot. It's just superpower. And it just causes you to illuminate. And that everything within you that is dark, that is hurt, that is scarred, that has not been healed, gets healed. And then now you know love and hear in a way, because you now know you are loved. You now know you are something. You now know you're the most priceless thing of all, that only now then can you love someone. That it was only when I realized my worth and my value that my relationship with my daughter is finally where I've been praying for years for it to be. All I had to do was love myself. Wow. And choose myself. Wow. My relationship with Quint, even though we did say I do at the altar 14 years ago, we're just now married for real. We're just now starting to have the right kind of marriage, because me loving myself illuminated so much that it poured into my daughter and illuminated her. It poured in my husband and illuminated, because now that I knew that I was worth something, I was for dang sure not going to let my husband not know that he was worth something, and my daughter was worth something too. I know what scripture says. Those of you who have sent me a message, I get it. But if we read scripture and go to the beginning, it first started with the love that he has for us first. It starts there. And we can't give like we're supposed to, in love like we're supposed to, until we first know how valuable we are. And then we just start to think differently. We start to act differently. We start to see things differently. We start to respect ourselves differently. Then guess what? We can give honor and respect. We start to be fulfilled, and we don't have to get into relationships because of what we need to get from them. Selfishness, being about yourself, only about yourself. That it is only through that. We are all broken, all of us. We have healing to do, all of us. But the place to start is right here in who you are. And if your life is not matching that, we got work to do, superheroes. This is what unleash means. Unleashing yourself from all the bonds, all the pain, all the hurt. But where do we start? We start right here with us. That's what this is about. That's what everything about me is about. It's loving yourself, choosing even yourself first, not to forsake others, so that you can really give to others and be an asset and not a depletion. And add to people's life versus taking away. And help people versus hurt people. That's what this is about. That the things that will come out of our heart, the things that will come out of our mouth, the things that will come out of our mind, and the things that we can endure. Woo. I get set up every week now. That's all I'm going to say. Woo, I get set up every week. You're worth everything. Man and woman, you are priceless. And what you can do, you have yet to see. Because when we're going to operate off of first loving ourselves, now take a look at that life. Now take a look at your relationships. Boogie was the best thing that happened to me. Brianna giving birth to Quinn was the best thing that happened to me, because I didn't really know love, but I got a glimpse of it through her. That baby can love you in a way. She doesn't see what we see as people. You know, I remember taking off my hair for the first time with her, and I was nervous. I was scared, but I didn't want to be hidden from my own grandbaby. I didn't want to feel like I couldn't be myself with her. And this was just 2 years ago, right upstairs, during the time where I was feeling. And trust me, my daughter and my husband, we are so ooey gooey right now because of all this love. And God is taking real love and just overpouring in us. It's just crazy right now. And I remember doing it, and I didn't know what she was going to say. And she looks at me. She did a double take. Mimi? I said, yes. And I was waiting because I'd heard it all. She walks over to me. She goes, you don't have any hair. I said, nope, I do not. She goes, what happened to you? So I told her what happened, and she looked. She walked around me like inspecting me. I didn't know because, man, kids, I lived that life. She comes around to my face, and she touches my face like this. And this is a child. To me, the most purest form of love. And she says, you are so beautiful, Mimi. I never had anybody tell me that before. And that moment in that bathroom was the start of what got me to see hair or no hair, Tracy. So let's wrap that up from your childhood. But the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, this child was looking back at me, telling me I was beautiful. That did it for me. And I knew that meant that I had to fight Quint, fight Brianna. We had a lot of fighting going on. I needed to stand my ground and fight for me. And lo and behold, I was fighting for my whole family and didn't even know it. But now my daughter is on a journey to where I'm watching her choose to love herself in a way, and she ain't going to accept nothing other than that kind of love, because that love now is on her, and she won't accept anything less than that. And then to watch my husband, who's a beast of a man, to start to now really understand or work on who he is and the value that he has and who he is to this family. Boy, but who he is for real. Ooh, that's a kernel there. Only can come from one place. True love, but only comes when someone who knows love can now start to give you that kind of love. One of us had to start. And it's changed our whole family. Nothing else. Just love. And I believe that that's what can change everything in your life, everything in your home, everything in your community, everything in this United States, and everything in this world. But it's the most hardest thing to do. But we can do it if we just start right here. I don't even know if I did everything right. If I did what I was supposed to do, I hope I did. Like I said, Thursdays is real talk. And trust me, I've got something planned for my brother that he doesn't know, that me and my daughter talked about, that I've saved just so we could have some fun next week for the holidays, because my birthday is coming up. I'm a turkey baby, and call him my brother, and he's going to be joining me. We're going to have him. He don't even know it. If he's on, he's hearing it for the first time. He's going to be joining me. We're going to do something that him and I were destined to do together. We just need to go ahead and do it, but I'm going to have him come and join me. It means you'll hear him, and we're going to just have some fun next Thursday. Whether he knows it or not, he's hooked. I've told everybody, so they're going to be expecting it now, Byron. And we're going to definitely do that, because this is going to be a journey. And every Thursday, let's suit up. And it won't always be tears and snot and deep stuff. It won't. But it will be us going to work and doing the things that need to be done, because we have to, for ourselves and even for the future and our kids and our grandkids. So I love you guys. I think I've got everything over here ready to go. Want to make sure I've got all my stuff ready, and I do. And make sure you guys join me on Tuesdays, as we really are talking about how to build that life that matches our worth and value. And I'm going to tell you, I love it. You guys are sharing it, because I'm getting people to reach out to me. That's what I'm talking about. And that means getting on with me, Xavier, Quint, Katrina, Nikki, Atala. I mean, all of us over here, that's what this has been all about, you guys. And we really want to help everybody to love themselves, but to have a life that is a reflection of who you truly are, which is priceless, you guys. Have a good one. I'll see you next week. And of course, I'll see you again here, you guys, next Thursday, 7:30 Central Standard, 8:30 on the East Coast, 5:30 Pacific Coast. And please make sure you share this, you guys. That's how we get it out, because somebody may be needing this message right now. All right, you guys, see you next week. Bye-bye.